Welcome to the January. Oh, sorry. Sorry. He wasn't ready.
No.
Chris?
Is he in the ceiling?
No, yeah, the mic's out.
Do you see the wave or something?
I mean, is there a button that's got to be turned on?
Oh, yeah, you got to turn
I mean,
that
that's
thing off.
off
Wait,
there.
hold on. It's on. That's why it's not on.
Well, it doesn't say on.
Hold on.
I mean, it says
So you
off,
got
but
it.
not on.
Is he asleep? No.
No, he was just up there.
Yeah, we're on. You get it.
Okay.
You have to turn the TV on.
Okay, welcome
Okay.
to the January 15th, 2014 Budget Committee meeting. And first off, we have one member that is going to be calling in or talking by phone remotely. He's out of town, which is Dave Foltz. And I guess to start off, are there any objections to him doing that? The town council, I think, has done that several times.
I have an objection.
Okay.
I was not offered that opportunity when I was absent in either, I can't remember exactly the date, but it was in either May or June when we were selecting an appointment to the Budget Committee. I was out of town. Everybody was aware of that, and this is, according to Mr. Fournier, has been the state law allowance for the last year, and I object to now allowing that to proceed. I am very angry about this.
And
Tina?
I have nothing against Dave listening in this evening.
Well, I would like to say that I don't either, but
Yeah.
I do
But
not feel
I
with this.
object also to this, because if you're going to do it for one, you need to be consistent across the board for everybody. And it's just not right. Dave, I'm sorry, I don't mean to say that you shouldn't be here and speaking, but I think if we're going to do a process, and it is required by law, then it should be offered to everybody.
Any other?
And I would put that as a motion if we could do that.
Okay. You want to go ahead, make a
I
motion?
want to make a motion that the same opportunity be afforded to Judy as well as to David, and I would object to this going this evening, to allowing Dave as a outside person to participate in this meeting. That's my motion, that I don't think it's right, and I would vote against this.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion?
I guess,
Oh, sorry, can people tonight raise their hand if they want to speak, just so we'll keep it straight? Thanks. Cliff.
I feel that perhaps a mistake was made in the past, and I would characterize it as an oversight. And if there was an oversight in the past, that to me doesn't mean that process should continue.
Drew? You?
Yeah, I guess I would agree with the concept of the motion. The consistency is appropriate and good. I guess I don't know when it was realized that the ability to have someone phone in has existed, and
It has over the last several years on town council. at
A
least.
couple of
but
years.
yeah, and I guess I don't. Does that mean we would, if we were to pass this motion, does that say that a person on the Budget Committee would always have to be here? And if that's the case, then we're no longer being consistent with other committees in town? And I'm not sure that part makes sense.
That's what we're
to me.
trying to do, is be consistent. We're trying to be consistent.
Okay, Russ?
Yeah, it's an interesting issue, but in the final analysis, I believe the time that Judy was referring to was when we were voting to who was going to be the one-year representative on the Budget Committee. And she was apparently, whatever the process was then, unaware, or nobody here was aware to do that, and that was a significant vote. And so I understand it's allowable. It would be nice to know, but considering it has impacted votes before, I feel a little uncomfortable in being able to say, do it one way one time and do it another way another time.
All right, Michael?
If what Mr. Fournier said is correct, if it is state law, then we have that ability to go and look that up. And it would kind of be doing our due diligence as a budget committee to know the laws and what we're doing. So I don't have a problem with Dave sitting in on the phone. It would be just like he's here. He's in a room alone, I'm assuming, Dave. But if, okay,
Dave, yeah, let's just be clear, are you alone in the room there?
I am alone in my room.
okay, so where he is alone, he's not being, he's not being told how to vote, so I don't see fault in him. It's just like he's sitting here. So where it is state law, he has every right to be via phone.
Anybody who hasn't spoken yet? Okay, Dana? Then Blue.
No, go ahead, Dave.
Okay, I was just going to say, perhaps what I should do is withdraw my motion, and if somebody thinks that he should be allowed to speak, to let them make the motion to allow him to speak and see how everybody else feels about it. Does anybody feel like they would like to make that motion to allow him to speak, so I can step aside? And I'll withdraw my motion.
Yeah, apparently Administrator Fournier has some information
I
on
have
the
the
law.
law, and I'll read the law to you. Please apologize, I got it on my phone. A public body may, but is not required, to allow one or more members of the body to participate in a meeting by electronic or other means of communication for the benefit of the public and the governing body, subject to the provisions of this paragraph. A member of the public body may participate in a meeting other than by attendance in person at the location of the meeting only when such attendance is not reasonably practical. Any reason that such attendance is not reasonably practical shall be stated in the minutes of the meeting. So you'd have to state why he can't be here. Except in an emergency, a quorum of the public body shall be physically present at the location specified in the meeting notice as the location of the meeting, which you are. For purpose of the subparagraph, an emergency means it's danger. I'll skip that part if you don't mind, just get through it. Each part of the meeting is required to be open to the public, shall be audible or otherwise discernible to the public at the location specified in the meeting notice at the location of the meeting. Each member participating electronically must be able to simultaneously hear each other and speak to each other during the meeting, and shall be audible or otherwise discernible to the public in attendance at the meeting's location. Any member participating in such fashion shall identify the persons present in the location from which the member is participating. No meeting shall be conducted by electronic mail or other form of communications that does not permit the public to hear, read, or otherwise discern meeting discussions contemporaneously at the meeting location specified in the meeting notice. Any meeting held pursuant to the terms of paragraph shall comply with all requirements of chapter relating to public meetings and shall not circumvent the spirit and the purpose of the chapter expressed in RSA 91A. And a member participating in the meeting by means described in this paragraph is deemed to be present at the meeting for purposes of voting. All votes taken during such meeting shall be by roll call vote.
Okay, so it's basically saying it's up to us.
It's up to the committee to allow a member.
Okay, so do you want to, Blue, you had a comment?
I actually have a couple comments. One, I guess where does the onus fall on? Does it fall on the person who's out of town and not at the committee meeting, or does it fall on the committee's responsibility to make it aware of them? I've watched several town council meetings where Phil Nazaro, I'm just going to use him, was out and he called in. And I believe he was actually on vacation. I don't know if Dave is on vacation or not, but he's making himself available for this meeting.
Yeah.
It would be no different than Ellen was actually absent for a couple of meetings, and was it her responsibility to see if she wanted to call in, or was it the budget committee's responsibility to say, hey, Ellen, call in for this meeting? To me, it relies on the responsibility of the budget committee member. If Ellen is on vacation and she doesn't want to take part in the budget committee for that week, that's her given right to do that. If she wants to, it's up to her to let us know that she's going to be absent, which Judy did. She said she was going to be absent. But then whose responsibility is it to call? We're not calling them, they're calling us.
But that's the point. He made it known at one of the meetings that he would not be participating this week for any of the meetings. He was going to be away. And that is at the point where it should have been discussed at a conference call, could be set up for that, and it wasn't.
But is it not well
How
known
did that
that
happen? And I'm not suggesting that Dave is at fault or anybody's at fault, but if we're going to go by the rules, let's be fair. I agree with the way Russ expressed it was eloquently.
But is it not well known that Judy could have called in on herself? She could have recognized the chair and said, I'm going to call in for this week because I'm out of town.
We just found out about
The
it.
onus is on the person who's the committee member, not the actual committee. We're not calling that person.
No, you don't know that.
That person is now out of town, and they're saying, I cannot be physically at that meeting. Can I call in?
I'd like to speak to this because originally we were going to have this meeting next Monday night. And we arranged that at one of our meetings when Dave was present. And we decided, or I decided, that because it's a holiday, we would not have the meeting next Monday and that we'd have it this week.
That's right.
And I told Dave, I asked Dave if he wanted to call in because we were originally going to meet next week and he was going to be in town. But I thought it was unfortunate that he was going to be gone the whole week and miss both our public hearing and the vote. So I asked him if he wanted to call in, or we would call him, and he said he could.
But that wasn't shared with us, and nor was it giving her the opportunity at the time either. That is the point. That is the
Okay,
only
understood.
point.
Are we ready to call the
Yeah,
vote?
well, I'd just like to make another comment to your point, Blue. I mean, and I appreciate Dave being there, and if that's what the law has been, it should be. But the exception that I take, and I appreciate Judy's position, is up to tonight, the Budget Committee, based under Brian's stewardship as well as yours up until tonight, has said if you're not here, you don't participate in the vote. That was what we had back when Judy was here. Nobody even brought up the issue that that was available. That happened to be the time we chose a replacement counsel. For this to be changed, okay, from what the history has been, from Brian's leadership to your leadership up to this point, concerns me greatly. It seems to be unusually timing to be able to change this. And though I appreciate Dave being here and having the willingness to do it, I think it's inconsistent with the way this committee has operated, regardless of what the law has said.
Understood.
And to jam that to a vote tonight seems to me to be a little bit questionable.
Duly noted.
We could change the precedent going forward for the next term.
Larry?
I certainly can appreciate how Judy feels about the situation, but I'm not sure at what point in time the law changed. It was at the beginning of the season.
No.
I know the council, excuse me?
2008.
2008, well, that's even.
So there's plenty of time to
So-
read up on it
so
and look at it.
We didn't get the
and-
message collectively, none of us knew the law, obviously, or we wouldn't have allowed that to happen at the time. And now I'm seeing potential of this happening again tonight, and it, to me, two wrongs don't make a right. If we now know what the law is, we should be abiding by it. Doesn't make Judy feel any better about
But
it.
Larry, the law says it's up to us.
Right,
doesn't
that's
say
the
it's
point, Larry.
mandatory.
But we're no longer under Brian's leadership. We're now under Ellen's leadership.
No, that's not what he's saying. The law states.
Under
we-
Brian's leadership, they had a actual group agreement, which has now changed because law is saying that we must do what.
No, it doesn't.
No, it
say
doesn't. You're
that.
getting it wrong.
It says it's
No.
up to the committee.
It is up to committee, and Ellen's saying that we could possibly allow it.
Okay,
And now it
any-
goes to a
any-
vote.
Any new comments? Because I think we've covered everybody, I understand where everybody's position is. I think we can take a vote.
Again, my question is, does somebody want to make a vote? And I'll rescind mine to allow this to happen, so we get a better, clearer picture. I'll pull mine back and let somebody else make a motion to allow this to happen.
Mike,
We have a second. Do you want to retract your second?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna move.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote.
that-
Okay, it's by roll call. So I'm going to do it alphabetically, because I have a list here.
Which way are we vote to allow?
The
or
motion
vote
is
not?
to not allow Dave to participate, I believe.
Right.
Is that correct?
The vote is what
So-
the issue is.
Against this conference
If you
call.
say aye, you're in favor of not allowing Dave to participate. If you say nay, we will have to have another motion. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay. Cliff Chase,
Nay.
Dave Foltz. Dave, you can participate, right? He participates.
Yeah, you can.
Sorry, say that again?
Nay.
Lou Foster,
Nay.
Dana Glennon,
Aye.
Drew Kiefaber,
Nay.
Michael Lang,
Nay.
Larry Pickering,
Nay.
Judy Ryan,
Aye.
Russ Simon,
Aye.
Ellen Snyder, nay. Amy Thompson.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion failed. So it sounds like we still need a motion to allow Dave to participate, for the record.
I'd like to make a motion for Dave Foltz to participate in tonight's budget committee meeting
Okay, do we have a
and
second?
have voting rights,
I was
Okay.
going to say, you might want to,
He has on
and to allow to be, to
Okay.
vote on.
Still second it.
Michael will second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, we'll call the roll. again, if you're saying aye, you're allowing Dave Foltz to participate tonight. Correct?
Yes.
Cliff Chase.
Aye.
Dave Foltz.
Aye.
Lou Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glenn.
Nay.
Drew Kiefaber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Nay.
Russ Simon.
Nay.
Ellen Snyder, aye. Amy Thompson.
Nay.
Okay, I think that was a
Ain't going
7 to 4. 7 to 4. Okay. So Dave, you can participate, and I guess for the record, you should state why you're out of town.
I am on a business meeting in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, thank you.
How's the weather?
Cold, but not as cold as there.
She already did.
And just to repeat, is there anyone in the room with you?
There's no one in the room with me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let us do the Pledge of Allegiance, because we did not do that yet. Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up on the agenda is to vote on the FY 14-15 town operating budget. And Administrator Fournier is here tonight to answer any questions if we have them, but we can entertain a motion related to the town operating budget.
You want to go in order of the sheet, or?
Well, we're going to not vote on the bond tonight because I wasn't sure when we were going to hear about the bond, so I've suggested we vote on the water main bond and the school bond next week, and we'll need to set a meeting after the school bond hearing, which is Tuesday night. And I know the council meets Wednesday night, so we could potentially meet Thursday night to vote on those two bonds. Do you want to speak to them?
A question, I didn't know if you had a question.
Did you have a question, Amy?
Yeah, because the public hearing for the water bond isn't till after we vote, but
It's after, it's on February 5th. The town charter, when it was
Do we
amended to
meet
go to
immediately?
SB2 form of government, never amended the chapter to go to SB2 timeline for bonds. This was found out from bond council last year when we went forward with the wastewater treatment facility. So you actually have the possibility of holding the bond public hearing after deliberative session. And that was done last year. So we looked at the calendar, and the council right now is going to be scheduling the bond public hearing for February 5th. But it's sort of a moot point because you need to have this, we need to have the warrant posted by January 27th. So we need the recommendation before the public hearing. The only reason why, if you want to delay it, if you have questions, Sean, Greg, the water and sewer superintendent, cannot be here, and I'll put a plug in because he's downstairs doing the water tasting test. For those at home who can come and do the water tasting test, if you have questions, that would be the reason why.
Right, so does that
Okay, thank
sound, I mean, we could vote tonight, but the agenda said non-bond warrant articles, so we could just vote on that next week when we vote on the school bond. Does that sound okay to everybody?
is there any,
We can't,
okay, my next question is.
We have to vote. We have to vote before January 27th on all the warrant
You have
articles.
to have
Is
a
that correct?
I
recommendation.
don't like it being shoved down our throat the way it is.
What, sorry, raising
Sorry,
hand.
yeah, can you raise your hand? I wasn't sure your comment, Dana. Maybe you can raise it next.
So what is the benefit for putting this off this week versus next week?
Well, it's just because the agenda says non-bond, just because I thought, I wasn't sure when the public hearing was going to be when we made
Are
the
we
agenda.
gaining something for next week?
I mean, if there's questions of the committee, then I would be able to have the staff member here. If there's no questions, I know we've gone over it, and I presented it last Monday night, but if there's any questions, we could wait for Sean.
Any questions? If we can do it tonight, we do it tonight. I don't know what's going to come to light.
And I got to clarify something about the comment shoving it down somebody's throat. This has been vetted by the council and been proposed in the legal timeline and has been brought forward to this committee after the council approved it. So it wasn't a surprise.
We're getting it so late, and we have to make
This is the legal,
changes in
this
our
is,
schedule.
hold on,
That's
excuse
what I'm
me.
asking.
This is the legal timeline.
Wow.
The council receives and had until yesterday to receive petitioned warrant articles. So this is technically the first day articles are available because yesterday was the shut-off date.
Okay, my
So we're-
apologies.
Okay, thank
My
you. And I
apologies.
just want to make sure that it's clear that
It
this is the timeline.
just came across that way to me.
Okay.
I apologize.
So is the preference of the committee to wait until next week on this one or to vote tonight? Can I just get a sense?
I'd like to vote tonight.
Yeah, all right, I vote tonight.
Okay. So we will vote on the $1,055,000 bond for installation of water main on Route 108. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to vote on town warrant article.
To recommend or not?
To vote to recommend, is that what I need to
You
do?
should, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, choose
I'll
this.
make a motion to vote to recommend the town warrant article, $1,055,000 bond for installation of water main on Route 108.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Dana, second. Any discussion?
Other than it's long overdue.
Cliff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I have a question, or maybe it's a comment. I'm not exactly sure how passionate I am about it, but all of the monies for this are paid for by water rates. And I guess the thing that I feel there's a little bit of a disconnect, and maybe it can be explained to me, is that I feel like some of the purpose of making this water main larger is for it hopefully never need for use for firefighting. And that firefighting, to me, is not just for assets of water ratepayers, but for the community as a whole. So drawing that to a logical conclusion, I feel like the whole community should participate in paying for that.
I can address that.
Sure.
Water that comes from the mains only for firefighting purposes go to hydrants, and the hydrants are in the water district. So those who are in the water district benefiting from the water are those who have the protection of the hydrants. So if you're not near the hydrant, we have to pump it from truck to truck to truck to get it to the facility in an emergency. Usually in those situations, you have cisterns or fire ponds near the homes, or the pumper trucks would be loading it somewhere else. So usually in communities that tax for the water, you'd actually tax a price per hydrant. I know in my previous community, the water company was private, and we actually had to pay per hydrant in the water district, and that was considered a tax benefit situation. But usually the reason why it's only in the rates is because those in the water districts have the benefit of that added fire protection of the hydrants.
I guess
And then Judy?
my follow-up is, it's not just private homes that are protected within the water district.
Oh, absolutely,
The room we're in right now, for example, is a town asset.
Right, but businesses pay water rates. If you receive town water at a business, you're still paying the, we wouldn't charge ourselves, but other places, businesses pay water rates. So they're getting the benefit as well. So if you receive town water, you're paying it as part of your rates. But you also receive that benefit of the protection of the hydrants.
Amy? Oh, sorry, Judy. Sorry, Judy, and then Amy.
It's more along the comment, as you made, Cliff. This is not going to be any impact on the water rates, which basically says we've been paying for this all along.
There is,
Or that we have been paying an inflated rate
well, the reason
all
why
along.
yeah.
Let me finish.
Oh, okay, you're
Okay.
done. Sorry.
And that bothers me. And I think we should put money away, and we talked about this over the years about long-term planning. But having just been notified within the last quarter billing in October of our increased water rates, users, I'm talking about users, for the water treatment plant, couldn't some of this money that we've been paying over the years have offset that,
No, I think
rather
there's
than
some
funding
confusion.
this piece?
And I want to clarify this. First of all, there is going to be an impact on the water rates.
Oh,
Second of all, the money that you receive, the notice that's going up, are the sewer rates, not the water rates. Those are two different pots of money. Some places don't have sewer, but they have water. Very few, but that's the situation. We're trying to phase this in, that when we go out to bond for this, we'll be retiring other debt, so that we're hoping that there would be no impact on
Yeah, that's what I
the
thought.
water rates. But we have to still say there is, because if you didn't have it, then you're right, the rate would drop. And we estimated it'd be about 30 cents per the cubic gallon situation.
So correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but last night you said there was no impact on the water rate.
No, I said there is an impact on the water rates.
I'm wrong.
Because there's two projects, and I want to clarify too, there's two big projects we're doing on 108. North Main Street, we've saved money in capital reserve funds.
Okay.
That's being done. South Main Street, or South 108, is the one that they've tried to go to bond 2 or 3 years ago prior to my arrival, and we're bringing it up again because it still needs to get done.
Blue,
Amy was before me.
do you have any? Sorry.
Two comments. One is that I know you spoke last night, and I wanted to point out the clarification. You're going to speak more clearly to it than I will. The $1,055,000, I believe you said, is a worst case.
Correct. That's
Again,
a
because you
maximum.
have to, it's the maximum to bond. It is not necessarily what it will cost. And again, based on what you just said, the funds could already be there from something, something, and something, or we saved here or did there. So
Yeah.
the total cost, my understanding, is not meant to be represented as $1,055,000. It's a worst-case scenario, but my understanding from you and from Mr. Gregg is that is likely not going to be the overall total, and you guys are doing everything you can to.
Correct.
Thank you.
For example, the wastewater treatment facility, we had to bond $14.5 million. We already know that because of grants that we're receiving, the wastewater treatment facility is coming into we're only going to have to borrow closer to $10 million. So the same situation, if we're able to get grants, we need to have the worst-case scenario of $1 million here. But if construction costs go down, or we're able to tie it in to another project, then we're able to reduce that cost, and we don't have to borrow. We're just asking for a maximum borrowing authority of $1,055,000.
My other comment is just briefly is that in some respect, yes, it's for the users, but the town hall is a user, the fire department is a user, and we do pay, all of us then, whether we're personally on water, do pay for water in some respect, but certainly it's by no means the bill that a direct water user would do, but in some respect, there is a water charge that we pay through taxation.
Blue.
I have two questions. It might be three. First off, how long is the bond for?
20 years.
That's one. And two, it says there will be an impact rate on the water rates. Is that based on usage, or are we doing a flat fee?
Usage.
Usage?
It'd be an increase in the water rate if we need to, but again, we're not sure. We're not going to go out to borrow until 2015-16. At that point in time, we are estimating that we're going to have reduction. We're going to be retiring debt. We know we're going to be retiring debt from the water meter replacement program they bonded a few years ago. So that debt's just going to cover this one. So we're not. Well, we have to put it has an impact. We're not expecting an increase.
Just wanted the public to know that it
Yep.
wasn't a flat fee across
Yep.
the board
No.
for every user, whether you use one drop or
Yep, absolutely.
55 gallons.
Excuse me, Dana.
Steve, I think I heard you say this. Another reason why there's a need to change that pipe is because of the age
Yes.
of that pipe. And that is probably more critical, or equally as critical as all the other reasons to why it's being changed.
Correct. It's vintage late 1800s.
1800s, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, and it's a smaller one. It's a smaller pipe size. They're going to
Right.
be going to 16. I believe it's 8 now.
So
I'm
the
not sure.
potential of it breaking and it costing us more further down the road, in hindsight, it makes sense.
And I'll have to tell you that with this project, we've tried everything to try to save money on it. And I'll give a little anecdote of one of our nightmare situations. The bike lane that they're going to be putting in, we received federal money that we could have a possibility of putting bike lanes on southern part of Route 108. I said, well, let's do it while we're in there, do it at the same time. Well, because of Davis-Bacon and the federal laws and federal federal money is involved, we would actually have to pay a higher rate to go in there and install it while it's opened up. So we actually may have to go back in after it's done and open it up again, and it will be cheaper. So, yeah.
All right, any more discussion on this warrant article? Okay, we're ready to call the Roll. Cliff Chase.
Aye.
Dave Foltz.
Aye.
Blue Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glennon.
Aye.
Drew Kiefaber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Aye.
Russ Simon.
Aye.
Ellen Snyder. Aye. Amy Thompson.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, 11-0 to recommend this warrant. Okay. The next, I believe, is the operating budget. And
If I could actually say how to read those numbers, I would make that motion.
so the current total is $9,060,199.
Okay.
Still, question mark in there?
You have to ask it as a question.
Okay, do you want to entertain a motion related to the town operating budget?
Okay.
A motion?
Make a motion, Rush.
And Russ, make
A
it.
motion to
Okay.
what? Approve the.
Recommend.
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 Approving the
That-
operating budget as.
Stated.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Dana, second. Okay, discussion?
Yes.
Amy and then Dana?
Okay.
I will say that in principle, double negative, I don't disagree with the total here. I did have a couple of notes from the review that I think there's about 100,000 in here that I could suggest be cut and or moved to other places. So my thought is with 100,000 things to go to would help with either the Meals on Wheels, or we talked about a social service grant, for instance, that come out. I mean, I can give you the itemization, but I think I'd like to recommend that it come down by about 100,000.
Dana?
I'm going to wait till the end because mine is more of a complimentary thing, and I think we should probably discuss numbers before I go into that. So I reserve to make a comment later.
Any,
My question would be, where, you want to cut it by 100,000?
I think there's some wiggle room. So I guess not to jump the gun is that I'm there we go again.
But to put it-
I'm not recommending the budget,
Yeah.
but I do think there's a little wiggle room in here that, I'd like to see, and again, with an eye toward warrant articles and that sort of a thing. Again, shifting, I'll just put one out there, 10,000 as a social service grant to Lamprey Health. I would rather see that come out of the budget and go toward funding the Meals on Wheels petition.
Oh, yeah, I would have a problem with that one. I do, and I'll tell you why, because the Lamprey Healthcare has been, actually, it was originally founded in this town of Newmarket, and it is the oldest nonprofit organization as what it is and what it represents in the community in the entire country. So I think where it's in our backyard, and I know personally it helps a lot of people, that I was on the budget years ago and on the council and helped to get that back up to the level to where it is today. I would rather see $10,000 come from a different area versus an area that it has been proven it has helped this community, and that would be devastating to them.
My background on that, and I'll just
Yeah.
go back and forth, is that we do certainly value them, I believe, as an institution. I don't know, I believe Mr. Fournier can look out as far as nonprofit, whatever, but I also know that they are forgiven, I believe the figure is about $70,000 in property taxes every year.
Yeah.
And I think, my feeling is that is plenty
Yeah.
to help support them, and I think that's great. I'm just saying
And
another 10,000 on top of that is something that is a suggestion of what could come out of that budget.
And I'd like to respond to that if I could. You're absolutely right. They are exempt from the taxes, but however, any organization that is set up as them as a nonprofit 501c3, they have that same opportunity in the town of Newmarket as everybody else does. So I would say if that's going to happen, then it should be happening across the board, very similar to what happened this evening here. It should be consistency across the board. I do think the Meals on Wheels program should definitely be supported. I think that's going to become as a warrant article. Once it's voted on and it is approved, it will automatically have to come out of the budget somewhere. Am I correct, Steve, on that?
That's a separate warrant article that we'll get to
Warrant
later.
article.
It's added in. It's added in.
Right, I'm saying if it passes, it will have to be paid for out
You're
of,
raising.
No,
No, it's
we're
an extra
raising the
500.
money.
okay, we're adding it to it.
Anyway,
Okay,
let's hold
all
off on that. We have another,
Okay,
a
but,
separate warrant article on that.
I understand where you're coming from, Amy, but I would hope that that doesn't get cut, not that area.
Okay. Any other comments on the operating budget? So as I understand it, we have a motion to recommend the existing budget of $9,060,199. You've suggested some cuts, but the motion is to recommend as is, so did you want to do something different, or we could call the roll on this
Friendly
budget?
amendment? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what would be a friendly amendment.
You just amend it.
Okay, who made the motion? Russ?
Yep.
And you did the second? So
Yes,
what,
and
are you
I'm not
offering
changing
some
my
amendment?
motion. I don't want to change mine.
No, if she wanted to make a motion to amend, she'd make a motion to amend, somebody seconds it, you vote on the amendments, and then you vote whatever the final one is.
But don't we have to agree to change our
No.
motion?
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can vote on amendment. All right, do you want to make a motion,
Okay.
any sort?
I'd like to make a motion to change the town operating budget from, I'm gonna not do the math, to cut the operating budget of $9,060,199 by $100,000.
Do we have a second?
For the purpose of
Russ.
having it voted on, I'll second.
All right, Russ, a second. Okay, discussion.
The new figure is $8,960,199.
Okay, Blue.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but cutting the budget by $100,000 doesn't mean they're not going to spend the $10,000 on the Lamprey healthcare, correct? They can
correct.
take the money wherever they want. I personally would rather see the $10,000 go to Lamprey healthcare. It is a alternative to big business healthcare in our local Seacoast area. They help a lot of people that need low-cost healthcare. That's number one. But number two, they could take the $10,000 from the general surplus and turn around and give it to the Lamprey healthcare. That's their right. So cutting it by $100,000 actually doesn't cut the budget by $100,000. They can spend the money however they want. They just have to basically reduce it by $100,000 and still spend the money they have.
Yeah, well,
Well,
We would have $100,000 less to spend.
You will have
but
$100,000
we have a-
less to spend, but they can
the
spend it
council
the way
has a
they want.
bottom line budget.
I'm sorry, you can spend it, they can spend it the way they want.
Every year, you know?
Sorry, Russ and then Amy?
I thought it was my understanding that, my understanding is what Blue has. Whatever we recommend, we can speak till we're blue in the face about a particular item. That has absolutely no power for us to do line item changes. We end up, which I know has spent a lot of time in the past, trying to go over line item changes, and I think the simple answer is we can express our opinion of where we think it is, but if we vote to change it 100,000, the two questions I had were, one, I agree with Blue's interpretation. I'd like to make sure we're correct, that you have the right to choose where that 100,000 comes out. That's not the budget committee's. And the second issue is that doesn't have to come out of expense. That could be by increasing a revenue
No,
forecast.
that one it would come out of expense.
Amy, did you have another comment, and then Blue?
I was just gonna say, we get caught in this a lot of time because we recommend a bottom line. I know previously on other boards, we're told we can only do the line and we can't control the line item, and then we propose a bottom line thing, and somebody goes, well, where do you suggest cutting? And it's like, ugh, I can't, I don't know. I mean, I can make suggestions. I do recognize that if you want to spend it on paper instead of paper clips, you know, I get that, but it's like, if we do the bottom line 100,000, then somebody says, how did you get there? And if I don't, so.
Blue and then Russ?
I agree with exactly what you're saying, but unfortunately, you cut the budget by $100,000. We have Chief Sears sitting here and said he's worried about gas, and it's already climbing up. So where are they going to find the funds for extra fuel? I don't want to take a police cruiser off the road to protect our streets and protect our town citizens because we don't have gas in the tanks. So if you cut the budget by $100,000, do they rob Peter to pay Paul? Do they come up with a magic dollar value?
Or is that
I
what
understand the
general
merit in
fund
it.
buy down, you remember that discussion? And
I understand the merit in it, but they can also go back to the general surplus every time. So-
Understand, when general fund, by using general fund doesn't mean we can expend more.
That's right.
I just want to make sure people understand that when we're saying general fund, we can offset the increases by any excess general fund, but we can't spend more than you allow us to because we have fund balance.
Russ?
Yeah, again, just a process question. I know during our discussions, and we went over revenues this year, we didn't seem to vote on revenues, nor is that part of the warrant article, though I remember in discussions you said that is a right.
It is. It's actually, it's in your budget. This is part of this formula. When I set that tax rate as $6, the number that we went over for revenues is included in that $6.
Okay.
So it is in there.
So hypothetically, if we said there's a motion on the table requesting you from the Budget Committee to increase revenues, which may have the room or not have the room, $100,000, which would have the same impact of lowering what it was, then if that's an option we have as a Budget Committee, which has never been brought up before, I bring that up as a possible alternative before we vote on this motion, because I think in the discussions we had this year, there seemed to be more wiggle room in that area than there was in actually cutting expenses, and if the net of it is getting to the same place.
You're correct, except there's one caveat. The bottom line for the expense side is set in stone. So if you reduce 100,000, we get the budget with 100,000. If you increase it by 100,000 on the revenue side, we can still revise that after you guys vote on it. So it may, the council, or when we set the tax rate in October, that's when we review the revenues again, and we change our estimates. So we could change that later. I just want to make sure it's understood that just because you increase it by $100,000 in revenue now, doesn't mean when we go to set the tax rate, the revenues will be $100,000 higher.
Well, all the numbers are hypothetical, though
Correct.
I recognize there's a limit on expenses, but you also have the general fund to cover
Fund
emergencies.
balance, right.
So my point being, if we said increase as an alternative, revenue by 100,000, and we agreed to do that, okay, as an alternative to 100,000 expense cut, that would affect the warrant article.
No,
It wouldn't affect the tax rate.
it affects the tax rate, but not that $9,060,199.
Okay, so I just, the reason I'm hanging on is we've never done it before, I'd like to
Yeah.
clarify. You're saying it wouldn't change the 9 million number, but it would change the tax rate from 6 down by,
Like 7 cents of that.
7 cents,
Yeah.
something like that.
And I can tell you that 100,000, we could we do this extremely conservative. $100,000 will probably find, as long as we don't have some major financial catastrophe, in excess revenues. It's because of stuff like if we have motor vehicle registrations, those kind of situations. But I'd rather be conservative now than coming in October saying to the people and say, look, I know I said a $6 rate, but our revenues are, we overestimate our revenues. Your tax rate's going to be $6.50, or I'm using worst case scenario. I'd rather be able to say, look, we think we're going to have a couple extra revenues on the other side. We can knock it down a couple cents.
Judy?
I think the other important factor in this is that we need to build our fund balance. And if we play with the bottom line, and hopefully that our revenues will be higher, then we will build our fund balance, which will then spiral into a reduction in the tax rate. That much we can buy down at the end of the year, so.
And remember, there is going to be an impact, I believe, and I apologize, I haven't read the school warrant completely, but there is an article requesting that they be able to keep their fund balance.
Right.
So that may have an impact also of what we have at the end of the year too.
Right.
Because at this point in time, that's,
Cliff?
comes back.
I'd like to move to vote on the amendment.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll call roll on the amendment, which is to cut the $9,060,199 by 100,000. Correct?
Well, I just have a question. Based on the discussion I heard, I may want to ask for a friendly amendment that says to change that from an expense reduction to a revenue increase of 100,000, which would lower the tax rate the same way, but still not affect the expenses. That's the purpose that I had the discussion. And so, if I've understood Steve, it would have the same impact. It would not change the $9 million expense figure, but it would change the tax impact down 10 cents.
Well, I don't say 10 cents, I don't have that in
Well,
front of me.
7 cents.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I
I'm
understand.
on television, I'm not being quoted on a figure right now.
Right, no, and I appreciate that. I'm just saying it gets to the same.
If anybody's up to that, I'm happy to withdraw my motion, frankly.
Well, it's your motion and his second. It's up to you two to decide if you want to do
Russ,
change the motion.
Yeah, I would end up,
motion to withdraw my motion.
I don't know how friendly amendments work. All I'm bringing up is I feel more comfortable on an adjustment on the revenue side
makes
based on
some
what
sense.
I've heard this year by 100,000
Okay.
from the discussions than affecting expense.
Just as a matter of process, we need to be clear that we finish discussion on an amendment and then move on. Rather than amending amendments,
Right,
you end
so-
up in a real pit.
So we either vote on this one, or you both withdraw your motion and make a
That's
different
why
one.
I'm
So whatever you'd
asking.
like to do.
I haven't made a motion.
No, but Amy and you seconded, so
seconded
you
it.
two
Yeah.
need to decide, do you want us to vote on this motion?
I'm willing to withdraw it.
Okay. You withdraw the
Sure,
second?
I'll withdraw
Okay.
the second.
So we're just voting
Now,
on the budget.
No, I think you
I'll
want to.
make a new
another
motion that, as a budget committee, considering what we've reviewed this year, and I think the town's done a spectacular job in explaining and maintaining the cost. But I
Absolutely.
also think there's some wiggle room on the revenue side that's proven in the past to be a little conservative, and I'd recommend a $100,000 increase on the town's revenue forecast, which would not change the warrant article's expense, but would have a impact of some small couple of cents on the tax rate.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I have a-
Dana?
I'm a little confused here. I'm not a person that, understands a lot of this, so I'm going to ask Ross, or maybe Steve can answer this. What does that really mean, that we're asking for an increase of 100,000 on the revenue side? And if that is the case, how does he get that money?
Well,
Projections.
I don't know if you were asking Steve or me.
I would book the revenue as I have to, buck stops, I have to withdraw it from fund balance. So I'd probably just put an additional $100,000 on fund balance, because I can't guesstimate that we're gonna get $100,000 more in motor vehicle registration. I don't know.
Are we not putting you in an awkward position?
You were putting me in the position where I would say that the fund balance would be $100,000 less.
Okay,
Answered it, thank you.
that's where
Blue-
it's coming from.
My question was going to be, what happens if you don't get those revenues?
Comes from fund
Even
balance.
comes
It
from
has
fund
to come
balance.
from
Thank
fund
you.
balance. And
I
what's
have
our
to get it.
Fund balance right now?
Right now, we're at 8%, 1.3 after everything.
So it's
so-
there anyways,
Russ?
Yeah, a question, and the reason I brought it up was if I misunderstood. If you're saying that you can make an adjustment in October based on what the reality of the revenue is. So let's say we find, as we have in the past, that this particular revenue item increased by $50,000 or $100,000 that we didn't expect. You would make that judgment in October. Why would you say today you'd have to make the judgment it comes from fund balance rather than just say change 1 or 2 or 3 of the revenue?
Because our projection on the revenues, I believe, are accurate. I don't think we've underestimated our motor vehicle registrations or our building permits. So I
Okay.
think right there, we are there. But I mean, if we have, again, I don't want to be stuck in October with another financial situation that happened in 2008, where at the beginning of the year, interest on investments were $200,000. By the end of the year, you're only getting 10. So you had to go back in and revise your revenue estimates and say, I'm sorry, but now your tax rate's going up, not because the budget went up, because your revenues dropped. You're adding $100,000 that at this point in time, we're very comfortable with the revenue budget, where it is.
Okay.
So if I don't want any tax increase come up, and something happens and I don't get those revenues, I'm gonna have to take it from fund balance.
Right, but you have to take that from fund balance based on the vote tonight.
Or I
And
raise
you're
the tax rate.
mandatorily required to,
Or we raise the tax rate.
which happens regularly one way or the other.
Not when it comes to revenues. Revenue, increases of tax rate because of revenues are rare, and it's usually due to outside financial situations. Market falls out, nobody's buying vehicles, so your motor vehicle registrations drop. Building market falls out, so nobody's building homes, so you're not having permits any longer. So those, and the last one I just said, the interest on investments, those are the big three that you'll see. But at this point in time, you know, do I see a big jump in the market right now for automobiles? Not really. I mean, I don't see $100,000, and I don't see that in building permits. So, I mean, the fallback situation, unless we increase taxes to this $6 number, or whatever, that would be taking that money from fund balance.
Cliff, I think you had a comment? Did you?
I did. I really value this discussion. The Budget Committee really hasn't spent much time talking about the revenue side historically, so I thank you for bringing it up both tonight and at prior meetings. And thank you, Steve, for bringing clarity to something really complicated. I say that now, and it'll be muddled in my head in 15 minutes. Almost lastly, thank you for, bringing this up. I guess I'm getting a sense of more economic optimism by some Budget Committee members, and that's wonderful, but I'm not going to support this amendment.
Blue?
Could you give a quick synopsis of how you project your revenues? Real quick. I don't want you going through detail by detail, but motor
Pretty much
vehicles,
what
just say
everybody
motor
thinks.
vehicles.
We look to see what our numbers are. I talk to the department heads, seeing what the trends are. What kind of vehicle, like for motor vehicles, what kind of motor vehicles are being registered? Are they new? Are they used? Are they Mercedes? Are they Fords? Are they that kind of situation? We look at those kind of trends. I talk to the building inspector. What kind of people have been in your office for development? Do you think we're going to get a big subdivision this year? Maybe, maybe not. If so, then building permits usually go up. That's how we do it. We just is talking.
I think that playing with revenue is an extremely fine line and dangerous thing to do. In the business world, you would never project next year you're going to sell $1 million worth of material and then sell $10,000 worth of material. You would just never do it. You try and project, but if we fall short, then we're doing the town a disservice. I cannot support this.
Oh, Larry? No, Larry?
These projections, it's not a one-time thing either. They get reviewed during the year and revised, so you have a pretty good look at it before.
And just a reminder, I'm not projecting for what I'm going to be getting for revenues at the end of 14. I'm looking at how we're starting. It's 2 years out.
2 years.
So.
Okay, I think we're ready to
I
vote.
just had a statement. Everybody obviously is entitled to vote, and I may not even vote for my own motion, but I'm glad we had the discussion as an alternative of what I think the Budget Committee can be responsible for during the year. So thank you.
And just to be quite frank, I've been in municipal government I've been doing it for 18 years. This is probably the longest discussion I've had on revenues. Most people don't even ask, so is appreciative.
Yeah, I would concur that we need to talk more about revenues. I would totally agree. Then we probably should have done that more in the budget process. Thank you for that conversation. So we have a motion to increase revenues projections. Is that what it's called? Revenues by 100,000. And I'm going to do a roll call.
Ellen?
Yes.
I've seen this happen so many times this year. I guess it's sticking to me now. But I need to qualify how I'm going to vote on this thing. I'm here representing the town council, and I'm going to stick with the town council's what they're projecting as revenues.
Okay.
I mean, it would be easy for me to be a new person just because I'm sitting here on the Budget Committee and do something different, but I'm supposed to be representing the town council's wishes, and that's what I'll be doing.
Thank you. Okay, so this is if you say A, you're in favor of increasing the revenues by 100,000. Cliff Chase.
Nay.
Dave Foltz.
Nay.
Lou Foster.
Nay.
Dana Glennon.
Nay.
Drew Kiefaber.
Nay.
Michael Lang.
Nay.
Larry Pickering.
Nay.
Judy Ryan.
Nay.
Russ Simon.
Nay.
Ellen Snyder. Nay. Amy Thompson.
Nay.
Okay, that failed 0 to 11.
Good discussion, though.
It's important. No, that's totally valid conversation. Blue.
I'd like to make a motion to approve to vote on the operating budget of $9,060,000.
I think we already have
We already have
a
We already
motion.
have it?
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
back to that motion.
Okay.
So any further
Can we push the
discussion
vote?
on the original motion, which was $9,060,199?
Roll call.
If not, we'll call the roll. Okay. Cliff Chase.
Aye.
Dave Foltz.
Aye.
Lou Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glennon.
Aye.
Drew Kiefaber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Aye.
Russ Simon.
I want to make sure we're voting for it as it's proposed.
As is proposed.
Aye.
Thank you. Ellen Snyder, aye. Amy Thompson.
Aye.
Recommended 11 to 0 by the Budget Committee. And I don't think we really did get a chance to get back. I did want to say thank you to the council and Administrator Fournier and the staff. I think that you did a good job trying to get the budget down this year. So much appreciated from my perspective.
That's basically what I wanted to say earlier. Often we don't acknowledge what the staff and what you do, and we're quickly to criticize some people publicly or some people on committees. So I really want to say that since you've been here as the town administrator, there's been considerable improvement to this town and to its quality and what it can offer. And I'm glad to see, and Larry, you're part of the council. I'm extremely happy to see the council has been working in concert with the town administrator and also with the department heads and the staff itself, because the staff is equally important, because the manager is only good as its staff is and its managers. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll let the staff know as well. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next warrant.
Oh, we gotta do the warrant article.
do the articles.
You can go home
All
now and...
right. The next one is creation of a compensated absence expendable trust. This was recommended by the council 6 to 1. There will be no tax impact. Do you just want to briefly state what it is so everybody?
When an employee retires at this point in time, any compensated absence they have in the books, sick time, vacation time, if they were to leave, we'd have to pay them out of the operating budget. We're trying to build up a capital reserve fund so we can pay them out of there and not have impact on the operating budget. The number 29,500 is if those who are eligible to retire today could. Our liability, as we said, is much higher. It's in the $200,000 range, but that would be as if we shut down shop and everybody left on the same day. So we don't see that happening, but we still should have a good amount of money in there to go to in case somebody leaves. And this does not go into the fund balance at the end. It stays in the account, so it's only used when needed.
Okay, do we have a motion related to this warrant, creation of a compensated absence expendable trust?
I will make that motion to
Recommend?
recommend the creation of a compensation absence expendable trust in the amount of $29,500.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Blue. Discussion? Cliff.
Just very briefly, I'm in full support of this warrant article, and I wish the school district had a similar fund as well, as a lot of our expenses come from such similar sources.
Okay, no further discussion. We'll call the roll. Cliff Chase.
Aye.
Dave Foltz.
Aye.
Lou Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glennon.
Aye.
Drew Kiefaber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Aye.
Russ Simon.
Aye.
Ellen Snyder. Aye. Amy Thompson.
11.
Sorry. 11, yes. Sorry, I'm doing my quad. Excellent. 11-0, recommended by the Budget Committee. Thank you. Okay, next one, creation of a stormwater management capital reserve fund. and to raise and appropriate the amount of $41,113. There would be an impact on the tax rate of 6 cents, recommended by the town council 5-2.
These are the funds that we withdrew from the operating budget when we came in and said there was some money that we need to take out from the capital, contribution to capital reserve funds, because there was no capital reserve fund created yet. The purpose of the fund is that we are going to be under the gun for what they refer to as the MS4. It has nothing to do with DRA forms. It has to do with how we monitor the runoff into our stormwater system from various sources, and that water then goes into the drinking water as well as the river, and issues that they have with that. This does go into somewhat of our wastewater treatment facility, because one of the agreements we made with the EPA when we settled was that we were going to address non-point source pollution and try to address that, and we're sort of being forced in two ways to get to the same place. So what we're doing is we're going to begin putting money aside to begin addressing that. In the operating budget is money to begin the engineering to determine how we're going to get there, and this money will be to implement how we get there. So we're just starting to put that money aside.
We need a motion then related to this warrant article. Somebody would like to make a motion? Cliff?
I'd like to-
Sorry, second? Do you want to make the motion? Sorry.
Yes, please.
Okay. Motion to recommend the,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the Stormwater Management Capital Reserve Fund with $41,113.
okay, second by
I'll second that.
Drew? Discussion?
Yeah,
Russ?
I just had a question. The way I looked at it is our wastewater treatment facility that we're going to be putting up is designed to reduce the nitrogen level, et cetera. And that's for what we captured today. The way I look at this is what doesn't get into the wastewater system, either because it goes directly from properties by the bay into the bay, or water is not directed into the wastewater system that could be from other sources. So this is sort of the government saying, I don't care whether you get it through wastewater or it dribbles in from farms, catch that water and treat it to keep the nitrogen.
Try to solve the problem.
So this
Yeah.
is trying to solve whether you capture it or not, either capture it better or avoid it going into the bay type.
Yeah, and this is, just to show you the scope of where this is impacting, everything from the Atlantic Ocean to Manchester.
Wow.
So it started out with everybody on the immediate coast, and it's spreading west.
Drew?
Yeah, just to kind of further what Russ is saying, stormwater management, a major component of it is the stormwater runoff. So I know I live in the New Village area over here. A couple of years ago, all the drainage in our area was redone and the water lines were redone. One of the reasons that was done is to make sure that the stormwater runoff that goes into the grates on the roads does not find its way to the wastewater treatment plant, because then we're treating this water that doesn't need that level of treatment. However, because we all drive cars and our cars drip oil and we put salt on the roads and other things, that water does find its way into the bay, the river, etc. And so it does need some level of treatment, and that's what this will hopefully go towards addressing.
Dana?
Steve, this 41,113, is that the cost of the engineering?
No, we're starting to put money aside to implement the engineering. The
Okay.
engineering we have is at 28,000 and change. It's in the operating budget.
Okay, so you've already been able to do some?
No.
Okay.
It's in this year's
This
operating
year's
budget.
CIP,
Okay.
Yeah.
capital.
The thing is to expand on this every year, to keep on
Yes.
adding money to it. Okay.
Russ?
Yeah, just one, and I recognize this at the beginning, and I applaud it for a lot of reasons. Whether this becomes a regular operating expense in our operating budget, or whether it requires capital expense or a combination of both in the future, remains to be seen. This is putting the seed money in to start thinking about how we approach the problem. In the future, this could be a huge expense for the town, number one, and it could be both capital and operating, time will tell. I applaud the fact that they moved it back to Manchester, because for people not familiar with the issue, we sort of are a shore community to Great Bay here, and there's a lot of people up Liver who deliver stuff through us. And if Newmarket was responsible for cleaning up everybody upriver's mess, it would cost us a fortune, and I think this is attempting to spread the cost to the areas that create the problem.
And for a quick anecdote, I could tell you that the state's trying to assist too. They've gone around to every community in the area to find out the number of dog licenses that have been issued, because a byproduct of the dogs is a source of this non-point pollution in animals and
Yeah,
other animals.
I was going to just add that I think as we move forward, it'd be really great if we had some educational programs.
We are.
Because we all contribute.
Yep.
Absolutely, all contribute, and there's a lot of things we each can do, and that will save the town.
Yep.
Save
Septic
ourselves
systems
money
contribute.
in the long run
So-
to clean up our
As
community.
long as we don't have the 200-year storms, 100-year
Yeah, that
storms
doesn't
in a
help.
3-year period.
All right, let's call the vote on this. I think everyone's commented. Cliff Chase.
Aye.
Dave Foltz.
Aye.
Blue Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glennon.
Aye.
Drew Kefeber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Aye.
Russ Simon.
Aye.
Ellen Snyder, aye. Amy Thompson. Aye. 11-0 recommended by the Budget Committee. Okay, the next is creation of a 300th anniversary celebration expendable trust, putting in $2,000 this year from the fund balance. No impact on the tax rate, recommended by the Town Council 5-2. Do I have a motion? Russ? Motion, a second?
Second.
Michael, second. Discussion?
Just, it is what it is. Our 300th anniversary is coming up, and instead of having one big cost item in 2027, put some money aside until that year, and hopefully we can have a great celebration that year.
2027, what is?
2027.
2027.
That was my question. I thought when we read this, somebody actually said in the Warrant article what date it was.
It's 2027.
It's not in here, though.
Yeah.
And at least in my reading of it, I was looking for, okay, so when's the 300th anniversary? And I would ask,
December 15th, 2027. It's on the seal. I didn't.
well, okay, you're looking at it, I'm looking at you.
Okay.
I didn't think I could check it off the top of my head.
Blue has,
But I thought this was in the Warrant article, that it let people know.
It's been an oversight. We'll make sure they know.
Okay.
okay, just so a note, I
May
think,
not be celebrating.
It would make me feel good that I'm voting on something today I won't benefit from.
all right, we got a long night ahead. We better keep moving. Blue, Blue had a
My
comment.
question is actually to the committee. Do we have to have another fund? We have a festival support fund already in the line item as a budget. Can we just put $2,000 a year into that and be done?
That money is in the operating budget, and it'll go into fund balance at the end of every year. This will stay in a savings account.
Dana?
What is your goal to get it to what level?
It would be closer to, I mean, which it will be, about, I think it would be 28,000. Your fireworks, other things like that.
It's gonna be one hell of a celebration.
I mean, fireworks, for example, we had a good one this year, and that was about 3,000.
Oh,
But if you want
yeah, fireworks.
a 300th birthday celebration, you need more. Plus, other things that we may have, street fairs, try to get entertainment in here. We could at least have some seed money there.
Yeah. I'll be going to it in a wheelchair, but that's okay.
Any other comments?
At least you'll be going, Dave.
My girlfriend said I'll be 50, so.
All right. We're going to call a roll on this one. All right, Cliff Chase. Dave Foltz.
Pushing up daisies.
Blue Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glennon.
Aye.
Drew Kefeber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Aye.
Russ Simon.
Absolutely.
Did you say? Ellen, I.
Thank for good
Amy
party.
Thompson.
I gotta humor
Okay,
myself.
we're going to come back for the party. If you want. All right, 11-0, recommended by the budget.
He's
Okay.
on a roll tonight.
We have a final warrant. This is by petition to donate $5,326 to Rockingham Nutrition and Meals on Wheels program. If passed, there would be a 1 cent impact on the tax rate.
I will make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Judy, and then a second by Dana. Discussion?
Ellen?
Drew, Blue, sorry.
The other one. Steve, could you just explain a little bit why this happened?
Yeah.
Just for the public's.
Yeah.
Prior to my arrival here,
It's not a bad thing, it's
it was
just-
taken out of the budget. It wasn't in last year's operating budget. Somehow, we believe it may have been paid. We're doing some research on that. So they didn't realize it until they looked at the budget and they said, no, we haven't had it for 2 years. We didn't put it in again. So we just didn't put it in because we thought they didn't want it. Well, come to find out, after the budget closed, they did want it and they wanted their money there. They wanted to have it in the following year. So we said the only way at this point was to get a petition warrant article. The other way would have been the budget committee to amend the budget, but they were already in the works to get this, so.
Wasn't this also how you set up the nonprofit grant funding?
Well, that's how we found out.
With
No, this one was okay with the nonprofit grant. I mean,
But
they
was it
didn't.
timing?
No, that was a
Was it
different
that
one.
one? Okay.
That was a complete. That was child advocacy services, and that's the chief of police is going to find that one. So.
Russ had a comment?
Well, actually, too, this one may be one I could use. So,
On your way to the celebration.
But going forward, we're not establishing something I hope we're going to have to do every year. This is a one-shot deal, and next year, if we want to, it'll be back included in the operating budget, and we don't have to waste time on it. Okay, great.
And is this the amount they've gotten in the past? Or roughly?
It's about that. Yeah, I
about
think it's a
the-
little higher.
Okay.
Like $300 higher, not a lot.
Yeah, I think it is important. I think it's important that they obviously get in the process so that they're in with everybody else in the town council process. So, okay, any other? Larry?
I mean, this money that they weren't going to get without doing this warrant article, has it been straightened out as to where the mailings, there's a corporate headquarters that has nothing to do with, I shouldn't say nothing to do,
yeah.
it's not the local folks here that run this site. that
And we didn't
messed
mail
up.
it to them because they didn't receive the
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah.
So they weren't in the list of agencies that we funded, so we wouldn't send them the questionnaire that we sent to everybody else. They found out when they weren't getting the money
Yeah.
that, wait, what do you mean we weren't getting the money? So that's when they realized that they were cut.
Dana, and then
Yeah,
Amy?
Just to add to that, don't they have to make a request for the monies
They do.
initially?
Yes,
Okay.
they have to say, I get a letter,
Okay.
usually it's about around the beginning of the fiscal year from each of these agencies requesting the funds. They always request what they requested. I say, sorry, you're only getting what we're giving you.
All
So,
right, I bet this won't happen again on their end.
yeah.
Ellen,
Larry?
notice there are two different figures here. It says by petition, donate
Oh, yeah.
$5,326, and then when you look down to
The
the.
5623 is the right number.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. we
That
will.
was today, so.
So if we can
Sure
make sure our
does.
motion says $5,623?
Yeah.
Is that okay with Judy and Dana? That was
Yes.
your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, we'll call the roll on this one, the last town warrant. Cliff Chase.
Aye.
Dave Foltz.
Aye.
Lou Foster.
Aye.
Dana Glennon.
Aye.
Drew Kiefaber.
Aye.
Michael Lang.
Aye.
Larry Pickering.
Aye.
Judy Ryan.
Aye.
Russ Simon.
Aye.
Ellen Snyder, aye. Amy Thompson.
Aye.
11-0 recommended by the Budget Committee. It's a great program. I have family that uses it in another state, and it's really wonderful.
Actually,
All
I
right.
used to deliver the meals.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank
I
you.
think we're
Just
set.
reminded, deliberative session, 1 PM, February 8th.
So the town is in the afternoon this year,
Yeah.
and the school's in the morning. Okay.
Yep.
And
And
and the
if you-
location?
At the high school, as long as we don't have to pay. And then remind everybody, if you can,
We
try
changed
some
it
water
this-
after, if you get out here in time, because we're doing the water tasting downstairs.
February.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
you.
And thank you, staff.
Thanks.
Let's speed up.
All right. Does anybody need a 2-minute break?
Think it'd be a good idea.
2-minute break, and then we'll...
We'll go down and get a drink of water.
Yeah, there you go.